Let's talk about competitive advantage. A competitive advantage is a product has, or a technology has a competitive advantage when they meet your needs better than anything else. It's sustainable if it endures over time. Here's a light. It's in the socket. It's not working. Here was my old way of testing it. I took a light with a bulb that I knew it was good, and I stick it in the socket, and then I try and turn it off and on. If it didn't go off or on, I'd say, whoa, not too cool, socket must be dead. Certainly beats sticking your fingers into it, which is a manual labor solution, but don't recommend it. Kids, don't do that at home. Here's my new solution. Bought it down in one of those big hardware stores. It was real cheap. It's got batteries in it. Set the dial to the right place. Stick the probes into the contacts inside the plug. Read what happens. Nothing happens. You know there's no electricity. You get too little. It even tells you whether you're getting out of the plug what you think you're supposed to get out of it. Talk about competitive advantage. This and this cost the same. The plug with the little lamp and this thing, they cost the same amount of money. But this gives you a lot more information, a lot more reliable solution. Competitive advantage, will it last over time? Probably. Hard to think you're going to make these much cheaper in the next couple of years. That's what we mean by competitive advantage. When we come back, we'll talk about something else. What is competition? Well, by now you should have an idea. Technology's just a tool, no different than anything else up here on my board. Competition is something that can do the same thing, give me the same functionality. Doesn't matter if it's the exact same kind of thing, I'm just interested in getting that functionality. Gives me it with a better ease of use, better price, I'm going to buy it rather than buy what you're selling me. A lot of that depends on what I need. This is a combing saw, I think that's what they call them. You do little tiny cuts. I learned how to use one in wood shop back in high school when we used to cut out these little figures, dogs and things. We make them into little bookends, take them home for our parents, and you learn you can cut a real fine line with this one. I just want to cut across a board. I just use a crosscut saw like this one. This here is a big feller, isn't he? You can play music on him too. Might be a competition for a jugs band instrument. Anyways, the point's this. Competition is anything that will do the job. So you can't put your blinders on and say they're not doing it like me. There's no competition. In my business, if somebody tells me there's no competition, I gotta laugh because I have never seen a technology for which there is not competition. May not be as good, may just be manual labor or people labor. Don't want to shortchange women in this, but may not be as good, but it'll work, and that's what it's all about. Can I make it work? All right. We'll be back next time, talk a little bit more about competition. You're from New England in the winter. You know what this little baby is? It's an oil tank. Oil's been around for a long time. Gas came in, but it didn't eliminate the use of oil. Oil still is a competitive heating source to natural gas, solar, all electric. That means the competition that came in didn't give this buddy, oil, a knockout punch. That's what swamping's about. Coming in and saying, pow! You're out of the market, buddy. You cannot compete anymore. Ideally, your technology should be swamping. It's a bummer if something else swamps you. You want to look at the kind of research that's being done and the patents that are being issued to try to figure out if somebody's coming down the pipe with something that might swamp your technology. The key is can it provide the same kind of functionality? What's a technology? Something that, a bundle of features and functionalities that does something over and over and over again with a known outcome and a known probability of success. House is pretty warm tonight. For all the problems we got with oil, it heats well. What do we mean by research? Well, this is paint. A few years ago, in projects for the EPA, big issue was no VOCs. That was, the industry was trying to figure out how do you make good no VOC paints and stains. That problem's pretty well been solved now. They have basic paints, basic stains. Now the specialty niches are being addressed because the performance standards are higher, and there's a trade-off between what you can do with no VOC materials and what you can do with toxic and other VOC type materials. So you're trying to get rid of the toxins, the VOCs in the research now, but attain the same performance. Things like, and you see it in others, like replacements for chrome, coatings. We don't think of paints anymore, we think of coatings because we're coating stuff, and there's crossover between paints and other materials, polymers, all sorts of things. Plastics, foams, who knows? You know, it's just, the issue is how do I coat something, give it the properties I want. So I'm looking for the functionality when I'm looking for research, and then it's not hard to find it. I search databases of refereed research that I get access to through my university, public library, or I just buy myself. I pick up the phone and I call federal R&D funding people, or whatever country I'm in, the people who hand out the money and review proposals, issue RFPs, those kind of guys, because they see a lot of stuff and they'll tell you in general what's going on. I may talk to some experts in a government laboratory who are working the problem because I'm a taxpayer. I'm paying their salary, dang it. They'll talk to you. They're nice people. They like talking to you. They won't tell you confidential stuff, but they're glad to talk. And then I look some other places. I look at university industry centers, and I like to see what's being given in as presentations at professional meetings in the papers, because that's where some of the early stuff shows up. You can go to preprints and other places for that. So that's how I figure out what's going on competition for research. I'm always interested, is there anything four square, just exactly like what I'm doing, and how are the other ways of solving the problem? And what of these are likely to be commercially viable within 5, 10, whatever my horizon is from the period of market introduction. So that's what I do when I'm looking for research. I'm trying to figure out who's got something coming down the pike. Oh, one other issue. Always interesting to find out if there's industry money going in already, because that tells you something about who your competition is or your potential licensee. One or the other.